Hey y'all, welcome to TBI Tuesdays, the Black Independence Podcast. We back at it. We got Jamal from RVA. We got Justin from Richmond. I don't know what we're getting into today. Maybe Jamal knows, but I know it's going to be on and popping as per usual. Jamal, will you please
Yeah, man.
let us take us on?
So before we get into new politics, tell me about this. So Harvey Weinstein moved from Rikers to a hospital for emergency heart surgery. What do you think that's about?
He's pretty old.
I'm just worried. I'm having Jeffrey Epstein flashbacks, man. Like I feel like this guy's about to get capped.
No, I haven't heard anything about him. I didn't know he was involved in any kind of thing.
Yes.
I don't
So
understand why it would be him being capped is what I'm getting at.
well, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I mean, he doesn't have the same sort of reputation, I guess you could say, as Jeffrey Epstein, but
Well, it's not that. I mean, like, because Epstein was actually on trial and he was about to snitch. Like, there was a reason for him to, as opposed to because Weinstein's still in prison, right?
right.
Okay. I mean, I don't. I mean, maybe he was looking at some kind of compassionate release or early release kind of deal, but I mean, I suspect that would have leaked if he were really pursuing that kind of deal. So I just think it's an old man in prison, which generally do not mix well.
Yeah. Well, I just thought that was a headline, and so I was just like,
Oh, but I got a fun fact about Weinstein.
All right, well, hit me.
Actually, well, it's more of a Lord of the Rings fun fact. But of course, we remember our boy from the third movie, Return of the King.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. Oh, I wish I could because it's a weird name.
What character
But the
was it?
white orc that had the bad arm that was leading the siege of Gondor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Hawk Tua orc. Yeah,
Okay.
he was actually fashioned by Peter Jackson to look like Harvey Weinstein.
I saw
I think I
that.
sent you that video. I think I
You
sent you
did.
that link. Okay, yeah. And then they like put the side by side. I was like, oh snap, it does look like him too. So yeah, he was popping shots before it was popular.
Man, look at that. Look at that. Yeah, and that's a shout out fun fact to all you Lord of the Rings fans out there.
I love y'all, man, especially extended edition people. Y'all know who you are. You know what it
Man,
is.
can't
If
how
you know,
many
you
times have
know.
we watched the extended edition?
It's an annual thing for me. Every winter, I do a thon.
Okay. Get some chicken fajitas.
I should do that. I should do. I mean, there's always food because I mean, this is me. I don't think you understand just how much cooking really goes down here because I be posting on Facebook my little projects and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, of course, that's nowhere near the amount of stuff I'm really in here doing. The kitchen is my place of zen. One of the few places I can go and when I'm in doing my activities, I'm completely focused on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty rare for me to be able to completely 100% focus on a thing. And
But
so
cooking is
yeah,
it.
and so I guess because I genuinely enjoy it. I enjoy the process of cooking more than I do the actual food itself. But
Mm.
I mean, the food being great at the end is also a nice touch too. So
Heck
it
yeah.
makes all that work pay off even more.
But you see all this. I enjoy sliding up to the table.
Mm.
Um, so as we release this episode, which will be on Tuesday, we got to talk about, shall we call it the Great Debate? Is that appropriate? Does that make sense?
I mean, I suppose it is at this moment.
So I got one for you about the debate. Did you know
Oh, that
that
debate. I'm sorry. I thought you meant Biden versus Kamala. Um, but you
Biden?
actually mean the actual debate, like
Yeah.
literal debate happening tomorrow. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah. Which will be today for those of you watching this video. Um, Tulsi Gabbard being tapped to prep Trump for the debate. What are your thoughts on that? Just saw that.
I've read about that. I mean that makes sense, and plus, as a Tulsi Gabbard fan, all the happier to see her. To even have the shadow of her appear in the debates. I mean, well, according to what I read, Kamala learned from that and did significantly better when she took on Pence later on that year,
Mhm.
or took on Pence later on during the VP debates. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, we know how Trump rolls anyway. But the thing is, Kamala is somebody who's about that smoke. unless that smoke involves specific policy questions, then she ain't about that anymore. It's next question, and and the Obama. Let me be clear. You could.
That's a pretty good impression, man. A+ for that. That was good. That was good. I wonder, do you think her prep, because I think Tulsi prepping Trump, if he can perhaps keep half of that on tap, I think would make his performance uh, just astoundingly better. My personal thoughts on the situation, I think Kamala Harris is going to eat him alive. But I just wonder if he can stay focused enough to kind of rebuff some of her attacks. Because I think she's ready to eat, to be honest with you.
Well,
I
here's
think
the
she got the
thing.
knife and fork and she's ready to eat.
See, now I don't know. Well, I mean, then again, I have actually seen the videos, but of course, those things can be taken out of context. But people with the little snippets of Trump's apparent cognitive decline, or
Mm-hmm.
at least those moments that seem like it, with his word soup and just getting things completely wrong. I don't remember the
Mm-hmm.
specific examples, but I mean, I've seen it scattered here and there through the new stuff I've seen. So I
Childcare.
wonder. So I'm wondering, and I mean, he is what 79 or 78 or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's certainly in that range where it should be happening biologically. It's just how it works, especially if
Yeah.
you eat a lot of McDonald's. I'm not looking for their sponsorship, so I'll call them out. But anyways, and we know, and for those who don't know, Trump loves McDonald's. So if you've ever seen a meme like hamburgers or something like that, that's them teasing him. Anywho, um, so if that is the case, it'll be interesting to see if that shows up during the debate. And I read that part of his strategy may be to attack the debate and the moderators themselves to make them seem unfair. So I'm wondering if he notices himself slipping, if that's going to be a tactic he switches to. So that's going to be interesting
Mm-hmm.
to watch to see if that happens.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I pointed out childcare, right? So I forget exactly where this clip came from, but I know the question was about childcare and how his administration would tackle the rising costs of childcare going forward. And he's like talking about, it's very important in this country. But when you're talking about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, we've got big numbers, big numbers. And I'm just like, okay, man, like what are we talking about here? So I think I guess one of the things I'm thinking about for the debate is how hard should Harris go?
Oh,
Because
I
I
mean,
mean,
there's only one
I
way for her to go. I mean, you got to match that energy.
so do you think there's anything to be gained for her showing any restraint in this debate, or
No,
should she just eat
because
him
the people
alive?
that are going to vote for her are already going to vote for her. I mean, sure, there's some. Okay, look, she can't go like Trumpian with it, but
Mm-hmm.
and so like not to the point of belligerence or even smugness. But I mean, she should most certainly be pretty vigorous in her assault. Because a lot of people that don't vote for him, that won't vote for Trump, who normally would vote for Republican, are mostly just turned off because of his abrasiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may not be able to court as many of them as you could, like those true independents or moderates are just looking for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And people do want a more presidential president, someone that is
Mm-hmm.
stately and professional, and that would be respected on the world stage. But then you get into, is it better to be respected or better to be feared? And that's kind of the two alternatives we have internationally speaking. Because I know you love your geopolitics, but I mean, so like in that particular case, like if that's a major concern of yours, which way do you want to go about it?
Yeah,
But it just kind of
that's an
harkens back
age
to what
old
I said
question, right?
last week when I was talking about, the way the parties have gone, where the Republicans used to be that if they wanted smoke wherever you could find it, and the Democrats typically were typically not about that life. Then 9/11
Mm-hmm.
happened, both parties came together and basically became pro-war, but then Trump was like the big dovish voice that kind of came in. So now you actually have a segment of the population that doesn't want to be involved in any foreign conflicts. And I would
Yeah.
say that number and that percentage is much greater than it is in the Democratic Party now, because they're gonna find some sort of reason, it seems like, to throw some money at something. I don't know what that obsession seems to be about. Oh
Mhm.
gosh, I just did Trump hands under the table for a second there. But anyways,
Oh boy, you're
I mean,
far
because it
gone
seems
now.
like their answer is just throwing money at everything. But I
Yeah.
do wonder because I've been getting some information over the past week that has made me wonder if it isn't necessary to do one of the things I have railed against probably for, well, at least for a decade. And that's actually to increase defense spending. I say that
Okay.
because because the power gets projected by two means. And that's the actual force, and then the people that have to apply the force.
Mhm.
With recruitment numbers the way that they are, and the general American appetite that just does not do well with any sort of casualties, like if Iraq had been anything or Afghanistan had been any close to like Vietnam levels, there would have been like real riots in the streets.
Mhm.
We just aren't as tolerant of lives being lost. A few thousand 40 years ago would have been next to nothing. But now, losing 3 or 4 thousand troops is a really big deal, and people will throw a huge fit about that. So the only way that you can get around that is to improve the technology. Well, research and development costs a whole lot of money, and then you also have to make sure you can recruit of the few people that you can even recruit now. They have to be the best and the brightest that can operate this machinery. This is something that Ukraine is doing already, and you can trust and believe everybody's watching because they refuse to give the manpower that is necessary to really launch ground combat. They've been putting more of that money into their drone industry and other unmanned vehicles, like their submersible vehicles as well, to help
Mhm.
counteract that. Because you can lose a submersible, you still got the pilot, so you can
Yeah.
then that can be replaced a whole lot faster than a person can be.
Yeah.
So, and plus, plus you can always make the machines. If a whole bunch of people are dying, you're going to have to force people into the military, and those are always going to be substandard recruits.
Yeah. Yeah. Conscripts are always going to be um, subpar compared to your, regular, your regular infantryman who's gone through basic
As
training,
Russia is
has
learning
some
real hard.
experience.
Russia lost an estimated 1,000 troops, KIA or WIA, in action last month per
Uh,
day.
that seems low to me. I mean,
I
these.
said per day. That's a
Oh,
thousand per
per
day.
day. Okay, I thought you said last
Yeah,
month.
I think at first I didn't specify that, but yeah, I wanted to make sure I said that. That was per day,
Yeah.
and the mass majority of those tend to be conscripts.
Yeah. And that's, again, that whole situation is just beyond ridiculous. But I think again, that's kind of getting off track. But I agree with you about weapons technology. I've seen some videos where you've got Russian troops hunkered down because they in the trees because they hear drones overhead just kind of looking for targets of opportunity, and they're just on pause, man. They're out there, but they're just like, no, I'm not moving. You can't move because these drone pilots are just out here just waiting for you to make a move. I think drone warfare is here to stay.
Oh yeah,
I think the real problem with drones militarily, if you're defending against them, is how to defend against a swarm, right? And so what you're going to see is the development of countermeasures to swarms of drones, because I think you can use um, directed energy weapons with AI tracking and what do you call this thing, CCAMs, um, to shoot down individual targets very accurately and efficiently. But when you've got thousands of targets or hundreds of targets, swarming at you at once, you're gonna need another option. So
and that's why I mean, at least I know. Well, I mean, in Europe in particular, since the ground wars would be basically fought there, um, a lot heavier emphasis is being put on not only just automated machinery, but also artillery and ADA. Basically,
mhm,
trying to fight at a distance as efficiently as possible.
yeah,
And I mean that's the way that's the how I would like to see the defense budget pushed on defensive air defense capabilities, sonar detection, because we know there's a few submersibles from rival countries floating around our waters right now,
mhm,
and but we also know there are some that we haven't found. So improving those capabilities as well would be a huge thing. But of course, that kind of feeds a little bit more into the isolationism, which I
Well,
mean, I'm halfway on that fence anyway. So I mean, it don't bother me one way or the other. Um,
yeah, well, I
but
think these dark projects cost, bro. Like,
yeah, they
I
do.
I, I like the fact that the government is scaling back cost plus, and going for just more of a streamline. What do you call it? Direct cost contract, where it's like, this is how much we paying you, get it done. If it costs more, it's on you, bro, because you said you could do this. Um, but between DARPA and ONI, which is the Office of Naval Intelligence, I found that they have some really, really cool stuff in terms of our underwater detection capabilities. I think we have uh, kind of a combination of ultrasonics and sonar detection net that sits just off the continental shelf. And so, it sits on the edge of the continental shelf. And so, as soon as you cross over that from, deep water or super deep water, they know you're there, right? Unless your stealth capabilities have to be second to none to avoid that detection net. And it's extensive. I mean, it goes all the way down the continental shelf, and I believe it falls off near the northern Caribbean, right? And then there's a secondary net in the Gulf of Mexico. So,
DARPA, from what I don't know how true it is, but supposedly Al Gore didn't really discover the internet. DARPA did.
oh,
And DARPA's
okay.
also been responsible for a lot of technologies that we wouldn't have if not for the incredible funding that they get.
Hmm.
So,
Incredible is the right word.
yeah. So I mean, it's so I mean, you gotta this kid's kind of one of those good with the bad things.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name, the phrase for that kind of medicine, but it's a hard pill to swallow. But
Yeah,
do some
it's
good.
you poison to cure poison, fight fire with fire, that kind of thing.
Oh, something like that. All I know is that we had to be able to project strength to stay relatively safe.
All I know
But I know our
is I'd
enemies
rather
don't
have
really
the
want that
stuff
smoke.
than to be on the receiving end of it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
100%. Some scary stuff going on. But anywho, so um, let's take it back to politics for a second, and then we'll go geopolitical, maybe.
Sure.
All right. So as it pertains to November, do you think that any of these prominent Republicans that have endorsed Harris actually mean anything? Like the Cheneys, the Bushes?
I mean, the Dick Cheney one did. I did find that interesting. Um, because I mean, you can say what you want about the guy. He's someone that knows the government inside and out. Uh, and if he believes that Kamala is the better option, despite her politics being far left of his, I think that's really quite telling. But he is more of a he is more of a he isn't a neocon. So it's it's a more pragmatic sort, the old school Republicans.
Yeah, which I respect. Where's Bush? I think he declined to endorse anybody.
I do believe that's the case.
So what does that say? I know Romney's gonna endorse Harris. I believe. I think I saw that. But he's somebody that I respect him for his tendency to be out in the public. I think he used to fly commercial, right? And will fly coach, like not in first class, but just get a
Who
coach
was
ticket and
that?
just fly.
Who are you talking about?
Mitt Romney.
Oh, Romney. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I never thought I would say this, but like I almost would be like, where I would definitely. I think if um, George H.W. Bush was running, You think he would? No, I'm sorry, Bush Jr. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm going after here. Would if he was running against Harris, do you think this would be a different situation?
If it was George W. Bush versus Harris,
Mm-hmm.
Trump, Bush would win pretty easily, I think.
Yeah, and that just shows you how far we've come. I think. Um. So,
Fun fact: that Obama phone y'all always talk about, that was actually Bush. It just got
oh, I
populated.
remember that. What is it? Assurance Wireless?
Yeah, Assurance Mobile or something like that under the
Cellular.
ACP, the American Connectivity Program. Yeah, it was actually his program.
Man, things are so different now. You know, it's there used to be so much more going on in the center, and now it's just you're either all the way over there or all the way over there. I think I think Harris has got to do a couple of things for tonight's debate. She's got to stay who she is and what she believes. We need some flush on those policies, and she's got to move closer to the center. So that's going to make the squad a little bit more upset, but she needs those independent votes from the center, man. I think if she does those things, she's going to get some people off the fence.
The problem is that part of the supposed Trump strategy is going to attack her flip floppiness. If she can't articulate that in a way that makes people believe that she really just learns and changes based upon learned information, not just the way the political winds are blowing, then that could work.
Mm-hmm. I think what's going to work in her favor regarding that is that she's not viewed as a career politician. So I think most people became aware of her when she was running a couple of years ago for president. And so that was kind of her first foray. So the only thing they're really going to be able to dig up is her prosecutorial records and her tendency to vote certain ways on that. And what she's done since the last presidential cycle when she was elected vice president. So they'll be able to pull up which way she's voted on certain issues, and she'll kind of be able to hide behind Biden on some of that. But I don't. It's not like she's not like a Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean? Where you've got like all of this political baggage and skeletons in the closet. I'm not saying there's not skeletons,
See, the thing
but
is,
I'm saying people don't know exactly where they are.
I understand you saying that that she's not seen as a career politician, but she most certainly is, as a long running attorney general, because that's still a political position, even though it's technically illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to straddle both of those fences, and I mean, a lot of attorneys generals end up in Congress, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. So I mean, it's certainly at the bare minimum, it's politics adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think anything that would have came out would have already done so by now.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think if she ends up telling any kind of crazy lies or something like that, then yeah, somebody may pull some receipts.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, we know what she's done, and I mean, most of those things that people view that are viewed negatively by any population are mostly black people. So, and that's the base she's trying to get, and that's why I think we're still going to see. I mean, yeah, there's going to be a record number of black women that go vote, but I wonder if that's going to be enough to say it's like a record number of black people voting, or at least voting for her, because I think that she's just seen as like I mean, to me she's just Hillary Clinton light, but
Is that
I
enough
don't know.
this time? Is that enough this time, though? That's the question.
No, and here's the thing: if Hillary had been willing to run, I think she would have beat Trump. Um,
You
I
mean this
do
go
believe
around?
yeah, I think if she had said, you know what, I'm willing to do it, I think she would have beat Trump. I think Kamala is just a less certain figure. But and I mean, black women already have high votership as is,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't really know how much more that's going to move the needle.
No, well, I agree with you on that point, but I don't think Hillary's not bankable from a political standpoint. she got too much history, um, and I mean, I just don't think she has the same political clout. I think when she went up against Trump, and all these different things came out during that process, I think people just kind of just like, all right, well, she's just not it. But I think that the uncertainty around Harris gives her an opportunity to declare herself as something different, or at least something more moderate and more unifying. So it remains to be seen if she's actually going to cash in on that. Um, but I think that, because I think with Hillary, she had a lot of the female demographic in general among independent voters, and of course, Democrats. You know, um, and I think a Hillary Clinton light, if you will, uh, makes that, anything that people see about her as, what would you say, just unpalatable, would make her a little bit easier to deal with in that regard. I think she's going to get. I'm going to say again, feminism is going to show up big time in this election. I think she's going to pull some women from the right, um, just on the idea that a woman could be president. Because I hear people talking about, I'm voting for Harris for what she represents as a woman in the office, for the first time, and what that means for my little girls, and showing them that, hey, this is not just for men to do. And I mean, she already did that for the vice president, but this is the highest office in the land, right? So I think there are people who just want to tell that story or want to see that happen,
Mhm.
and that's all they're looking at. They're not even looking at politics. This is emotional voting, if that makes sense. So there's no, I don't think there's a lot of cognitive or logical process behind why, other than it's the emotions that go with it, right? Like, this is us, this is our time.
And to me, that just kind of qualifies as, I mean, it really is still identity politics.
Yep.
So it has nothing to do with logic or policy. It's just whatever it is.
Yeah.
All about the feels, unfortunately, and which is why we can't have a lot of nice things. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Yep. Yep.
I really wish I could find this thing.
Yeah, it's not it's not what we want ideally, but not because she's a woman, but just to people to be voting emotionally and not intellectually. Um, all right, well, we'll see how Harris does in the debates, and based on what we see there, we may have some interesting tidbits to take away from it. But Justin, anything on the geopolitical front? I mean, we kind of touched briefly on Ukraine. You heard anything about what's going on with Israel and Iran here lately?
No, and I don't really have any expectations for that anymore. Iran may find some target of opportunity and take it and say that was our clapback. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it seems like they're going to do now. Either that, or they're just kickback, allowing Israel to continue, like I was saying, kind of like wearing them out because of the heightened patrols and the heightened alert status, because they're just waiting for that attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, in a way, just kind of dangling that out there, so Israel's a little bit more on edge. Just maybe the play, kind of like a slow burn sort of thing. But I know Israel isn't happy because there's apparently been some changes by the BRICS countries, which is basically like the Russian NATO, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
um, that are basically it's going to interfere with Israel's ability to. It's gonna make them potentially more isolated. Is basically what it's going to come down to,
Mm-hmm.
because Iran and China and North Korea and Russia kind of have their own thing going on, and Israel is still going to lean towards the U.S. no matter how things break down, even
Mm-hmm.
though they have a strong partnership with Pakistan. Is it Pac or is it Jordan? Which one was it? There was one that had the one I mentioned last week that had a large Palestinian pop, or 2 weeks ago.
Pakistan.
I think it was Pakistan. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Because there was a bridge that adjoins Israel to Pakistan in northern Israel, I believe it is, and apparently a gentleman there shot 3 Israeli workers, killing them all, and he was neutralized by the security forces in the area, which is apparently the first um, uh, deadly violence that's been exchanged at that border in like 20 years.
Mm.
And there's been a call in Pakistan to dissolve the peace treaty, which I believe was signed in 1995, and also break off the economic ties of Israel, which apparently accounts for quite a few $1 billion.
Mm.
So the people are starting to speak up, and that, of course, that could have an effect on Israel's growing isolation.
Mm. Yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on the situation there. I honestly believe that Iran's hesitation in dramatically responding to that attack has a lot to do with Russia's support being tied up in Ukraine right now. So we'll see what continues to evolve there. I am
Yeah,
kind of surprised that we haven't heard anything out of the Chinese, although I think they would tend to move a little bit more discreetly in whatever they're doing.
well, China's trying to position itself as a peace broker. Which is part of the issue between Israel and China, because even they want a peaceful solution to the Israel Hamas war, or whatever. I'm not going to put any cute names on it today.
The
But it's a
conflict.
whole lot more than a war on Hamas. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I lost my train of thought, so go ahead.
Now you were saying that they're trying to position themselves as a peace broker.
Oh yeah, yeah, which doesn't help because there's still ties, economic and militarily, between them and between Israel and China as well, I believe it is.
Mhm.
And then, of course, if China is capable of bringing peace to, like, the Russia-Ukraine situation, for example, the thousands of drones, this harkens back to the point you just made, those thousands of drones that Iran is sending over to Russia now get to be used against Israel.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Israel does not want peace over there in Ukraine,
Yeah,
because they need Iran and or Korea to continue supplying Russia, as opposed to supplying their enemies.
yeah. No, that I think you're absolutely right on that assessment. I just want to see. I just think about, and this goes back to what you said at the very beginning. The We are more cognizant about casualties in war now because we're able to be a little bit closer to the action,
Mm.
with modern technology. And when I just think about um, those young Russian soldiers, those young Ukrainian soldiers, right, that are being killed in this, um, all to keep NATO from, having Ukraine. This is essentially what it is. It just seems so stupid to me. Um, there's a lot of people
There's
dead for not a good reason at least on the Russian side. I'll say that. For the Ukrainians, I mean, obviously you have national defense and fighting for your country, and it's autonomy is always a noble thing. So I don't want to, um, you know, cast any shadow on that. But just on the Russian side, it seems, you know, just so terribly unnecessary. I mean, necessary in one
I
regard, but it just, you know,
something that is ignoble, and I want to mention it because it's been a video that's been playing in my head a lot recently, even though I saw it a couple months ago. It was a Ukrainian drone that was chasing around a Russian soldier. Apparently, the vehicle had been destroyed, the armored vehicle he was in, and the drone was like following him around. And he's like, and of course he's trying to hide, and eventually he like runs under the wreckage of the vehicle, and the drone kind of like teases him for a while, just kind of floats around outside. So people were saying that it was that the drone pilot was just mocking him before he killed him,
mhm,
and then ended the Russian soldier's life. So that I can't respect.
yeah,
I mean, I get it. You're salty. People are invading your
yeah,
home, but I mean, you're gonna kill the dude. Just get it over with. But
yeah, I'm fine with it.
according to many accounts, Russians are much more likely to surrender than actually attack if you give them half a chance to.
Yeah.
So, but of course, that's a whole nother pool on your resources to take prisoners. I understand,
Sure.
but those additional actions were just unnecessary. But that's another story.
No, there again, my humanity is, takes offense in a sense to all of this. But war is hell, and hell is a fact of life. Right? So, I think we just need to push this responsibly. Anyways, though, that's all from me. I really want to see what happens in this debate, though. I really want to see how this plays out. Are we going to see a shadow of Tulsi Gabbard here on the stage, kind of like Tulsi versus, Kamala 2.0?
Is it on ABC or CBS? Do you remember?
I think it's. Was it? There's no way it's NBC.
Well,
That's
I
too
want
far
to
to
check
the left.
now because I'm in the middle of my free month of a streaming service, and I want to see if I'll be able to watch
Yeah.
watch the debate as a result.
Yeah. Well, we'll continue to follow up on that one and see. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about after it all goes down. So either this is going to be
ABC.
Kamala Harris's linchpin moment, or it's going to be a missed opportunity.
That one's gonna be ABC, so check that one out tomorrow, y'all. It should be entertaining if nothing else.
Yeah, 100%. So why don't you bring us home, Justin?
Well, y'all, we appreciate you stopping in. That's Jamal from RVA. This is Justin from Richmond over here. You can go and check us out on those old Gmails. That's 2 blackpod@gmail.com. You can check me on all the socials. I'm over there on Justin from Richmond, so come by and see what craziness I've said because there's always some.
Yeah, well,
Peace
thanks
out.
for joining us. We love you. Have a great day. Enjoy your Tuesday.
Deuces.